and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new, and if you are new, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I make mostly homeschool videos, but I also do just like to share our family life as well as trips that we take. So if you like those kind of videos, make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you don't miss my next upload. And in case you do actually follow me on Instagram, because I have definitely told people to follow along on that side, you might have noticed that I've been super quiet over there. I have really not been using Instagram as much. I really just felt like it was becoming just too much for me, too much for my mental health. Like, I just really took a break, and it has been really good. So if you are following over there and just wondering where I've been, I just haven't been on. I think that that has been helpful for me. And I don't know when I will go back on, but I am considering maybe sharing a little bit more on here. I know that I don't really do much on my community page here, so I am thinking about maybe doing something like that. Let me know if that is something that would interest you. But yeah, I have really been pulling back on Instagram, and again, I just have enjoyed that so far, so I'm not sure when I will jump back on there. But let's get into the focus of this video, which is my term 2 update. And so this year is a new schedule for us. We've never really done it like this. We are doing six-week terms. Technically, I am kind of being pretty flexible with that. Our first term was supposed to be 6 weeks, but because of my husband and my anniversary trip, it ended up being a 5-week term, and then that meant that our second term was a 7-week term. And so normally I do a monthly update video, but it just happened that October was the end of our second term. And so I figured I might as well just do a term update. And I know I didn't do one for the first term, so I can kind of let you guys know how the schedule is working out for us. So first of all, I am using my planner to track all of this stuff because 1, I love planners, but 2, this is new for us. So I had said when I was planning this out that I didn't know how to use some of the beginning pages. And I did figure out what I was going to do with those, or what I am doing with those. I've shown before that on this page here, I kind of just like laid out what we are using. And then this was supposed to kind of guide me with how long we are spending with each subject. And then what I ended up doing on the other page that is laid out like this is I turned it into our goals and then like a review. So I'll kind of show you that real quick. This is super sloppy. This is like me just really scribbling. This is not my best and neatest handwriting, but this has just been a for me page. I've gone back and forth on whether or not I want more space, but I think that it has helped me to keep this to this small of a space, because then I really get to zero in and focus on, hey, what are the goals that are most important to us? So again, since I didn't do a term 1 update, I think I will kind of just go over that since I'm talking about term 2. But my biggest goals in term 1 were just finding our rhythm. And so that was mostly good there, and then kind of building Alani's reading stamina. So those are the types of things that I was working on going into term 2. And then for Emmy, it was rhythm as well, but also her short vowels. This was her first introduction. Not her first introduction, but this was a first big introduction for her through pinwheels with short vowels. So that's what we had going into term 1. And then with that in mind, going into term 2, for Alani, it was still increasing her reading stamina. So I wanted to get up to 15 minutes. We were about the 8 to 10 minute. Once we were done term 1, if you're new to my channel, Alani was always kind of more of a hesitant reader. It is not something she has picked up on incredibly quickly, and it is not something that she enjoys doing in her free time or anything like that. Now, with that said, she absolutely loves like drawing and all that kind of stuff. And she is a kid who did not enjoy that when she was younger. So I do keep telling myself, hey, this kid that I can't stop drawing used to not ever want to draw. So maybe we'll be the same way with reading. Who knows? But another goal that I had for her was a little less pushback and fewer reminders when it came to doing her work independently. So that is something that we're going to continue to go into term 3 working on. It is not something I expected her to master in one term, but I think that she's getting better at understanding what the expectations are and following through with what she is supposed to be doing. But it is still a little harder for her if I am working in the same room with Emmy. So I am also finding times that I can separate the girls, because I do understand that Alani is easily distracted, and knowing that I don't want to put her in a position to fail, basically. I'm not trying to set her up for failure. Yes, I would like her to be able to continue doing her work, even if her sister's doing something different in front of her or next to her or near her. But at the same time, I am really flexible with my expectations there, and I do understand that she's easily distracted. So when I can, I do try to separate them. And then for Emmy, Emmy was still struggling with short E, short A, and short U. Those sounds were still tripping her up. So going into term 2, I knew that we were going to be working on those. And right now, it's really only short E. I have no idea what it is about that short E. It's literally the beginning of her name. But for some reason, she sees that E and it's an I, or it's whatever letter she decides. So she is getting so much better with that, but that is really tripping her up. And I will talk more about that when I specifically go into their subjects, but those were my goals for the girls, and then my review of how we did with achieving those goals. And so I think I haven't written down my goals for term 3 yet, but I think that we are going to keep working to that 15-minute reading stamina for Alani. And an adjustment that I had made, which I don't think I talked about in term 1, is we started doing her reading more at nighttime because she is more interested to read at that time, because she's reading to both of us, or she gets to read to her dad, or, you know, it just means she gets to spend a little bit more time with us. So she is much more willing to read when it is at that bedtime period, because then it is kind of pushing out that bedtime where we're leaving and she's all by herself. And so that is something that definitely has helped her stamina. And I know with Emmy, our goal is really going to be tackling that short E. But again, I haven't written those down yet. I like to just sit down and really be able to think about what I want to focus on, because I try not to make this too lengthy. And then I also have this paper where I planned out everything at the beginning of the year, and there are a few things that are not lining up. So after I touch on the subjects, the individual subjects with my girls, I will talk about where we are with what I had planned of where we would be within our homeschool year with the subjects we're doing. One of the things though I feel that has affected us is just how much we had going on. I think it was the September update that I talked about that, but we just had a lot going on, and that is just how the fall starts. There are just a lot of things that I've signed the girls up for in the fall, and then that goes down in the winter, because I live in Pennsylvania and I do not like to drive on icy or snowy roads. So when it comes to the winter, I really do slow down on how many things we're doing, because if I don't have to go out into my car when it's icy or there's snow on the ground, then I really won't. If I can avoid that, then I would love to avoid that. And so fall is really ramped up, and then things really do slow down for us in the winter. And that's kind of where we are right now. So I'm gonna go over some of the things that we did for the month of October, basically. And you will see what I mean when I say things are gonna slow down. So Alani had done 2 homeschool activities through a local farm, and one of them was bug identification, which was really cool. I had signed her up and I was a little worried about it because Alani is not a big bug fan, but she did so well. She caught a spider, which I was just surprised by, because that is not something she would normally go anywhere near. She caught a caterpillar, and she tried to catch some grasshoppers or crickets. I think they were crickets. And she got up close to a lot of different bugs that other people caught. So basically, we were gently catching and releasing different insects and looking at them through the magnifying things. We have one at home. I don't know what the exact name for it is, but it's a container, and then on the top it has a magnifying glass and you can see a little bit better. And so we were doing that and identifying them and just seeing the different insects on the farm. And Alani had a lot of fun with that. So that was really cool. And then another thing we did was we planted garlic. I am not a farmer. I am not someone who is generally a gardener, something that I do want to work on. My brothers have been doing a phenomenal job on my grandmother's farm. But for me, I only recently learned that this is a great time to plant garlic, or at least it was when we did it. So that is something that, if it's not too late, I actually would like to do, because we do have a small area outside that is good for that. And so I think we might try to do that now that we've learned that this is a good time to do it. And so that was really cool for her to be able to get in the dirt and do that and learn about that, the different parts of the garlic and all of that kind of stuff. So I really enjoy the farm things. I think there's 1, maybe 2 more, because once it gets too cold, there's really nothing else. And so I might be wrong, that might have been the last thing, but I really enjoy the farm activities that we do, and she has a lot of fun with that. Another thing we did was the zoo, and the theme for the activity at the zoo was snakes, and Alani loves snakes. So that by far was her favorite. Now we've only done 2 so far this year, but that was really her favorite. She really enjoyed that. So I'm glad that we got to go to that. And then another homeschool event was Makerspace. And I love the homeschool events that our library does because we're always finding new things that the girls enjoy, and they're always asking for the different activities. Obviously, I can't get them all, but with Emmy's birthday approaching and Christmas approaching, it is cool to get those ideas for things that they are interested in that are also educational. So we really had a good time going there. I showed a little bit of it in my recent vlog. If you didn't see that, you can go and check that out. And then just because it is what we do in October, it is a tradition, we also went pumpkin picking, which is always a good time, an expensive time, because when you actually go to a farm to get pumpkins, wow, they can be expensive, but we do like to support this local farm by us. And so we had a good time doing that, and the girls got to pick out pumpkins that they've got in their room and everything. So that has been nice. And I feel like it brings me to that question, now that we have wrapped up October, I would love to know what your decorating is like inside, outside your house. I used to be all right, it has been Halloween and now we decorate for Christmas kind of person. But with Emmy's birthday being mid-November, I now wait until after her birthday party because there's already a lot going into planning for her birthday. So I don't like to also do all of the Christmas stuff and everything like that. So now I do wait until after her birthday for that. But I would love to know in the comments if you are someone who is like, all right, Halloween's over, it's time for Christmas decorations, or if you waited out. So just let me know. So other than the pumpkin picking, those were the like specific homeschool activities, and all of those activities other than the library one were only Alani because you have to be 6 or older to go to them. So Emmy does not participate in the activities at the farm or the zoo, but while Alani does her zoo activity, Emmy and I walk around the zoo, so that's at least nice. But the other things the girls were involved in, which is why I had talked about in my video that I'm looking forward to the slowdown, but it was tennis, gymnastics, soccer, rock climbing, theater. I think that's it. So we have ended gymnastics, soccer is over, and theater is over. So we are just down to tennis and rock climbing, and Alani's the only one doing both of those things. So once Emmy turns 5, she will be able to do tennis and she will be able to do rock climbing. So that is why I am okay with not signing her up for soccer again. Normally I would sign her up for one more time, but because she is going to be able to do both tennis and rock climbing, I've decided that she's not going to do soccer, and they have asked to try taekwondo, so that is another reason why I'm not signing Emmy up for soccer again. Normally that is like her thing, that is just her, but we have talked about the fact that they can't do everything. So I told them they really need to prioritize what they want to do, and also out of the things that are close to us, tennis and taekwondo are closer to us. So the distance also helped in that decision. But all of those activities, plus the additional homeschool activities, plus the fact that we visit my grandparents every week, both on my dad's side and my mom's side, it was just a lot. So I'm not going to take away from that time that my girls have with their great-grandparents. That'll always be a priority for me. And so other things are the things that are going to go. And on top of them just loving that time with their great-grandparents, my grandmother's farm is also a great spot for my girls. They get to hang out with the chickens, collect eggs, feed them, see what's going on with my brother's garden. Like, that in itself is just so much fun and a learning experience for them. So those things are even an extra bonus to spending time with family. All right, so I'm going to jump into curriculum, and I will do Emmy first because that is easiest. Emmy and I have been taking things really slow, and it just has been how it is. I'm following her lead. And again, she's only 4 years old. She will be 5 soon, but she's still young. So I have no problem skipping lessons or giving her breaks, those kinds of things. But her favorite thing in Torchlight is literally just like picking out the picture of the animal that we're putting in her notebook coloring the flag, and that's great. I don't need her to do much more than that. I love that she can identify the continents. I love that she can explain to me why it's going to be warmer or cooler in certain countries that we are studying, but I really haven't been very pushy with us getting through a certain amount of countries or anything like that. So each unit is technically a week, but I plan to use this over 2 years. So we are moving on to week number 7, and the goal is to get to 18. If we get to 18, great. If we don't, I really don't care. Like, this is just a light year for Emmy, and this is supposed to be also just practice for me working with both of the girls, because next year I really do have to make sure that we are hitting everything that we need to hit. Next year is the year that Emmy has to be doing school. And so I want to make sure that she's just understanding how it works, that she's getting into the rhythm. Honestly, she would like to do more than sometimes I'm able to do with her. So that is just where we are right now. And on this paper, I actually never even filled anything out for like my Emmy portion, because again, if we get to certain things, great. If we don't, it's really not that big of a deal for me. I just want to make sure that she is kind of getting used to the routine and we are progressing in curriculum, but I'm not like, okay, by the end of this term, we need to be at this point, by the end of this term. That kind of stuff does not matter to me as much with Emmy's schedule. The one thing though that I might start tracking is math, because that is something that she really has been consistently like going through, and I would like to see where we're going, because if we're gonna be like approaching first grade math next year or anything like that, I just want to know where we are with that, because I do feel that next year is going to be a kindergarten part 2 for her. Like, we're going to do kindergarten again, but we might be at first grade for math. I touched a bit on pinwheels with our goals. We are not moving through that at the pace that is suggested. I really have been wanting to not fully master, but I really want her to be a lot more confident in her short vowel sounds before we go deeper into blends. So we've started working on the consonant B, but I have not progressed her any further than that. And also I have not been pushing the handwriting side as much. I've been using her tracing blocks more than I have been having her actually write. So I do want to do more with like the tracing blocks. And Alani's writing curriculum actually comes with some handwriting pages where they have like the Play-Doh mats. So that kind of stuff, basically just the sensory stuff. I want to still be focusing a lot more on the sensory stuff when it comes to the letters and a little less of the handwriting. I talked about how we're doing with Apologia when I did my video on it, so I will make sure to have that linked in the description. But we've been enjoying that. I think that is a fun thing for us to like sit down and do, and she really likes the activities. She really, really enjoys the activities. So that has been really fun for her, and I like them too. And then, though I mentioned it, math has been going really well. She can do a lot of it independently. So I actually have been having to put in a little bit more work to assess where she is and what we can actually be skipping, what is just like really redundant at this point and not necessary repetition, not repetition that is helping her progress in any sort of way. So that is the kind of stuff that I'm having to just do a little bit more work in figuring out. All right, we've got this many lessons on this skill. Can we go a little bit further? Is this necessary? Because sometimes she does get bored when it's just like, all right, she knows this. Basically, Emmy really loves school and she would like to do more of it. And so I do think with things slowing down with some of her activities, hopefully that is something I can put more focus on. But one of my really big goals is to do more reading with Emmy. I'm not doing as much reading with Emmy as I did when Alani was little. And I need to sit down and pick up the books more and just hang out with her and read, because that is something that I haven't been doing as much with her. And when I do it, I realize that that's really missing. So that is on me. That is something that I want to work on. All right, on to Alani. I'm just gonna go through this paper that I have basically. So I had us at finishing Pinwheels in the first term and starting Wand. As I've talked about, that is not what is happening here. But we have finished Pinwheels. Like, guys, I'm so excited because this is something that we have been doing since kindergarten. So we've enjoyed it. It has been fun, but it's just such a big deal to be done pinwheels. This has been a really big part of our schooling, and she is done, and I'm so happy for her. I know that reading and writing is not her favorite, but I really have loved the pinwheels approach of the morphology and the grammar and all of the other things that are part of it that really just bring it all together. I just love the like full language arts focus of it, and we've had a lot of fun, but I'm really excited to get into Wand, where she's like picking up actual books. Like the readers and pinwheels, they're fine, but she's gonna be like picking up actual books and learning from those books. So I'm really excited for her. I'm excited for this next chapter in our homeschool, and I will let you guys know how it goes. You all know that I was slightly hesitant to do Wand, and here we are. So I am excited, but in the back of my mind, I am like a little worried, like what if this doesn't work? So we're gonna do it and we're gonna see, but as you can see, I'm excited. We are also not where I had planned us to be in Simplify Writing. In my plans, I had us finishing Unit 1 in the first term and finishing Unit 2 in the second term. We have started Unit 2. We have just started Unit 2. So that is like, I kind of picked where we were gonna take a break. She did like brainstorming and everything and then picked her topic for Unit 2, but I have not had her start writing. So in term 3, she will start the actual writing portion of Unit 2. I didn't want her to be like having one paragraph done and then waiting till term 3 because we've got a whole week for a break. So I really just wanted to line it up that way. For Zern, we are right on track. Similar to Emmy, there are just sometimes where I skip. I've given Alani the assessment early, and if she can do it, then we're moving on. So that's been going really well. We are on track for where I think we should be for that. And I remember last year, even though we were like at the end of the school year, we did have some things to finish up. So I am not like, all right, it's the end of the year, we're completely done. I do like to finish some of the curriculum because some of the skills are then needed for the next school year. But there are certain things like, if we don't finish all of Simplified Writing, oh well. If we don't finish all of Mystery Science, oh well. I'm not gonna keep those things going. It's more of the language arts and math that I'm like, no, I do want to make sure that you've at least learned all of the concepts that you should know, because depending on what it is, it does build. And that is really just those two subjects that I'm a little more of a completionist about. But something that changed for us, I had printed out a bunch of the, what are they called? There's a name for them. Application problems, that's what it is. I had printed out a bunch of the application problems and I had them in our binder, and I was like, wait, these are the same ones that are from like the Eureka Math that I printed out before and put in her notebook. I could be putting these in the notebook and we can be saving paper. So that was my goal, but I have a family member who didn't actually use the application problems, and they have them in this spiral bound notebook all ready to go, and they gave them to me. So I don't have to like print them out or write them in her notebook or anything like that, because we have this whole book of all of the ones that we will need for the rest of the year. So that is super helpful, and I am glad that I have this and glad that I hadn't actually printed anymore. Next thing that I wanted to mention was Explode the Code. And so I had paused on this because some of the vowel teams that were being introduced in this, we had not yet learned through pinwheels yet. And it was really tripping her up, like when we did the actual assessment, because I do the assessments. And when we did the assessment in the back, I realized that she didn't always know when to use a certain vowel team. And that is really just something that some of it comes from the placement of the vowel in the word. Does it come more at the end of a word? Does it come more in the middle or the beginning? Some of those do have to do with that. And then others are really exposure. You have to see the word, you have to write the word, you have to really be exposed to that word often enough to really just remember the spelling for it. So that is just something that I paused on this until I really was able to teach her those rules and she was able to get that exposure. So we will be starting the next one of this for term 3, which I'm excited about. I really do like these books. But again, with the curriculum that we are using, this was ahead of what she was learning. And I just didn't want to teach too much of it ahead of what she was learning in Pinwheels, because I do like the progression. The last two things that I want to mention are art and our Spanish. So art is going slower than I would like it to go. It is something that I'm always working on, and same for Spanish. It is something that I'm always working on, but we did do one art unit. So I think that's pretty good for us. 1 month, one art lesson. I think that's actually not too bad. I think that'd be really cool if we could get 2 more of them. And they are monthly art units. So I think that it is appropriate for us to get through 1 of them a month or 2 of them a term, basically. And then for Spanish, this is something we started last year and then we've slowly been continuing. We are on lesson 8, I believe. Yeah, we are on lesson 8. And after lesson 10, it's actually the end of a unit. So this would be the first time that we completed a unit, and I'm very proud that we are continuing. I do feel like we do double back and we listen to the Eat Your Spanish podcast. So I'll find certain ones that are really good with what we have learned. But I think the things that have really tripped up my girls is just some of the phrases. When it comes to like more of the colors and numbers, like that kind of stuff, they're fine. But like actually getting the phrases down, that's a little bit harder. So I don't really have us keep moving unless I feel that we've really gotten that kind of stuff down, which is why we are still on 8. And when we come back into term 3 after our break, we're gonna start at 8. I'm not progressing us to 9. We're gonna need that review. I know we will, even though we try to practice during the day, I still do know that we're gonna need that. So I think that by the end of term 3, we will be done the unit, but I think it's going well. I mean, for Emmy, it is a little bit harder for her to pick up on the things than Alani. So I think that if we end up doing this again next year, I might get the, like, I think there's like a student book or something like a notebook or something like that with activities. I might have that for Alani when we go through this or continue to go through this next year. Because it's not like we're going to finish this year. I have no plans for us to have this completed by the end of the school year. So I do think it will be nice to add something in though next year. That is going to be it for the second term update though. I am really excited to get into term 3 because for us that will be the end of our semester, I guess you would call it. My thought is it'll be the end of our first half of the year. So that is where things really change for us. In the later half of the year is when I switch out science and instead we're going to be focusing on history and geography for Alani. So this upcoming term is going to be the last term for us to really get the mystery science stuff done. And actually, I don't think I talked about mystery science. So mystery science is going well, and they had added a unit that I hadn't planned for when I originally did this. When I originally planned out everything, I had planned it out for 4 units, and there are actually 5. So considering that, we're right on track. We are doing great. I think we might actually finish all 5 units, even though that wasn't my original plan. And if we don't, it doesn't matter. We're still going to be moving on to core knowledge. If the girls want, we can do this stuff on the weekend or whatever. They do enjoy it. But I am going to make sure we have that smooth transition to core knowledge. I'm not going to wait until we finish science. That is going to be it for this video now though. So if you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. As always, thank you so much for your support on my channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.